Hello, my name is Driving Force Initiatives. On today's episode, we'll be going over the handguns I choose to carry and why I carry them. So without further ado, let's get into this. So I have a Glock 47 that I carry for duty. This thing has served me well so far. I got about 9,000 rounds through it. I've loved this thing since I got it. It's just like the 17, except I guess the frame has been shaved down a little bit, and the slide accepts a 19 recoil spring rather than a 17. And what I've gotten from that is that it's a little bit more snappy, a little faster on recoil. However, it's not as pushy and not as slow as the 17 is, because as soon as that recoil happens, I can snap back down on the target and immediately start firing again. It allows me faster follow-on shots. Now, I have not changed a single thing about this handgun. Everything in here is completely stock. That is simply because I have known that to be the most reliable way a Glock can function. And when I'm on duty, I'd like my handgun to be the most reliable it can be. Now, that being said, I do have a TLR1 on here. This TLR1 has been with me since, like, dear Lord, 2018. I've loved this thing. It's only about 500 lumens of light, though. I've considered upgrading to the TLR1 HL. Just haven't gotten around to it yet. On the back side of this thing, on top here, I have a Vortex Defender. Let me see if you can see that. Vortex Defender ST. On here, the Vortex Defender has been wonderful. I've heard of them blipping out every now and again. When somebody pulls the trigger, the optic turns off, they'll pull the trigger again, the optic will turn right back on. I have not encountered that at any point in time with this optic. That being said, underneath here on the frame, I have a Talon grip with their most aggressive grip. This has been absolutely wonderful. The only problem I have running into it is when I go to, let's say, mag change, I have to deliberately shift my hand a little bit, and I'll find that it sticks every once in a while, but that's more of a skill issue, training issue than anything. I can absolutely work through that. So to remedy that, I've taken some of the Talon grip away and opted in for some hockey tape to go through the middle of it. That gives me a little bit more of a surface without losing a lot of grip, rather than the normal Glock stippling that it comes with on these Gen 5s. And then on this back side, I've just simply taken one of the beaver tails, cut it in half, and then that gives me a little bit thinner of a grip rather than adding all that bulk onto my grip. And gives me kind of like a forward, more of a like a rearward tilt, I would say. It makes it a little bit more pointier, a little bit more pointy, I should say. It's easier to point. There we go. That wasn't very hard, was it? It's easier to point. And so every time I point this thing, I can get right up on my red dot every single time without any effort. When I don't have it on, I find that when I point this, I have to slightly lean a little bit more forward to find that red dot. Once again, that was a training issue that I could have worked through, but in order to remedy that quickly, I just threw on this beaver tail and cut it in half. I like it a lot. I've put a lot of rounds through it like that. No issues on my part anymore. Now, that being said, coming over to my concealed carry, it's roughly the same setup. However, I do have a little bit of added things to give me a little bit more of an offensive handgun rather than a defensive handgun. So on my 19 here, 19 is what I choose to carry every single day. I find that it's big enough that if I need to engage a threat, I can do with ease. It's very shootable. It's big enough for me to get my whole hand around, get a full grip on without losing a whole lot of leverage on this handgun overall. Now, On it, I have the Holosun SCS. Love this thing to death. I got the green dot variant. This was my first ever red dot for a pistol. I would say it was a wonderful buy. Hands down, one of the best optics on the market. Going a little bit further down here, I have a TLR7X. I think this is about 500 lumens. Once again, not the most amount of lumens that come out of a flashlight, but I have never really ran into a problem with 500 lumens and the distance that this thing throws in offense or in pistol engagement areas. Now, down here, I have some more grip tape, just a little bit of hockey tape down here. I find that that's a little bit better to grip onto than the normal Glock stippling. Once again, really, really sad stippling that comes from Glock. And I have a beaver tail that I've cut in half to give me that a little bit better pointability, so I can find that optic right away as soon as I point this handgun at any point in time. All right, so last but not least, on my concealed carry, I have a Radian Ramjet and Afterburner combo. It's been wonderful. I've put about 2,000 rounds through it since I got it. Since I got the Ramjet and Afterburner combo, have not had one failure to function. It's been absolutely wonderful. I do notice a pretty significant drop in the amount of felt recoil I have on this handgun now. Is it a need? Not really, but it affords me another advantage in a gunfight that I wouldn't necessarily have. Now, I do carry, for my duty handgun, I carry a normal Glock mag with a Taran Tactical extension, I believe it's called. This gives me 24 rounds, 25 plus one of the pipe. And then for my 19, I carry normal 19 mags. That's usually what I run in the gun. And then I carry a +2 extension on my spare mags. I'll usually carry 2 to 3 on my body depending on where I'm going. If I'm just running to the store really quick, I'll usually just have the 15 rounder on me +1 in the pipe. If I'm going in the hood, which I never really do for any reason whatsoever, I'll carry probably about 3 mags on me. Always mission dependent. So while I'm on duty, I'll also carry 2 more mag extensions here. I have 2 more mags, a 17 mag with Taran Tactical and a 17 mag with Taran Tactical. That gives me like 75 rounds in total, which statistics show that whoever has the most ammo in a gunfight usually wins. And I heavily subscribe to that concept. All right. Thank you very much.